Thank you. Thank you so much for joining today in the Rebirth Sessions. Today is brand new, can you tell? Completely new. Right here, right now, completely new. Like everything is falling away, doesn't it? Everything is falling away. Everything is falling away that isn't now. The past is over, it's gone, just nothing but the good memories remain. And the future is not here, and here we are. So it's great to meet you here in this stillness, in the quietude, in the quiet of this moment, not having anything that we must accomplish, and not having anything that we must do or anything. It's like no. So it's only in this quiet that we can actually connect with our source. We don't do it any other way. Simple as that. It's in the quiet. It is in letting everything else for a moment, letting it be, letting it go. And coming here, allowing ourselves to be present, and allowing this moment to be perfect. Perfect. What could possibly miss in this moment? So after this moment, you can be as upset as you want, but this moment it's going to be complete and whole and perfect and infinite. It's not without any limitation whatsoever, and that's what we remember together, because this is how we know each other. We know each other because of the fact that God is, and this where we find ourselves isn't. I love that. I love that. So we're going to be standing still. I have a little contemplation that I got from Joel Goldsmith. It's from the Parenthesis in Eternity on page 14, I remember. So it's a little piece of text, but it's a great contemplation just to take with you in your silence, and not to do anything with it except recognizing that it is what's going on. That's all. So, and that's a very quiet occurrence, but it stirs up everything. Like it stirs up your passion for living, you could say. So that's a great, or your memory of home. How about that? So it has a great healing capacity if you allow that to come to you, to be affected by it. So this is change of base. These are the words of Joel. I'm sharing them with you. So here's the formula. So I'm reading this to you. You will hear it first. I'm reading it, then Michelle will read it in French, and then we will be quiet, and I'll repeat it once more, maybe twice, I don't know, just to really have a totally intimate moment with it, just to allow this to come to you, that you hear it, what it says, and because that's where the real joy is. So I'm going to read that to you right now. Joel says it this way. The whole of the spiritual life has to do with an activity of consciousness, an activity of your individual consciousness and of mine. To live as the Son of God and not as a human being means to dwell consciously in the realization of an invisible presence. It means to live consciously in the awareness that God is the guiding and sustaining principle of our life. There must be a change of base. there must be a change of consciousness. It is not God who comes to the human experience. It is the human being who has to give up the human experience, exchanging it for his spiritual identity.
Toute la vie spirituelle a à voir avec une activité de conscience, une activité de votre conscience individuelle et de la mienne. Vivre en tant que fils de Dieu et non en tant qu'être humain signifie demeurer consciemment dans la réalisation d'une présence invisible. Cela signifie vivre consciemment en étant conscient que Dieu est le principe qui guide et soutient notre vie. Il faut qu'il y ait un changement de base. Il doit y avoir un changement de conscience. Ce n'est pas Dieu qui vient à l'expérience humaine. C'est l'être humain qui doit renoncer à l'expérience humaine, les changeant contre son identité spirituelle.
All right, thank you so much for the short contemplation. So here's the thing that happens then with the idea of God doesn't know about this place, you could say. God does not know about this place. So God cannot come into this, what you call your existence. He cannot come into it because he doesn't recognize it. And that's something else, isn't it? It's like what I see happening with what Joel writes here is this. It's like he says it exactly right. It's like the whole thing that we're trying to do, in fact, as human being, and in your awakening you might have still the same idea, is that you think that God can come to you to change something about your existence. I see this happening many times. It's like thinking that you can use God, so to speak, to improve your existence, and that's not going to happen that way because he simply doesn't recognize it. Like he doesn't know about lack. He doesn't know about limitation. And for instance, this was what came up for me to share. It's like the thing that comes up with, for instance, the 10 Commandments, as you have heard of them. Like the 10 Commandments, you shall not kill, for instance, or you shall not do this and do that. It's like, well, God didn't say that because you shall not kill. God doesn't know about death. Like he simply doesn't know about death. He is, say, the representation of life. Now, there's no connection with that. So it's like, that is still the law of man being put in a law, you could say, in a law. You should not do this, you should not do that, and if you do that, oh my God, you know, we've heard that for centuries, for sure, lifetimes, 2,000 years and longer. Like no, 5,000 years. It's a very old human law. It has nothing to do with God. So it's like, okay, love your God with all of your heart and your neighbor as yourself is the second covenant, as it is being said. It has nothing to do with a reciprocity or an eye for an eye or anything like that. Like it has nothing to do with that. Because the 10 Commandments do have to do with that. If you do this wrong, then that will be the result. Then you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that. Like, no, the whole human experience is in that sense is a mistake. It is not made to be improved. No, it's made to be recognized as absolutely over and gone and not appropriate, an appropriate place for you to be in that sense of speaking. Like, so to come to God, you have to undo, like have your humanhood to be undone for you because you don't know how to do that. Then leaving that behind, seeing that dissolve, you could say, you have a recognition of what is. It is as simple as that. It's not that you fix your dream, and if your dream is good enough, then you can go to heaven. Or if your dream is good enough that you're ready to die, when you're dead, you can go to heaven. No, heaven doesn't know about death. Heaven and death does not exist as we see it, like it doesn't exist. So this is really interesting, because see, the thing is that you might have heard it, but then to practically apply it in the sense of all that I believe that is related to an idea of improving my dream, improving my health, wealth, all of this has nothing to do with my spiritual life. I should not confuse the two. And that saves a lot of time. So that saves a lot of suffering time, you could say. It saves a lot of hell. So that's a great thing to take with you. So Joel shares it with us in the specific instruction of like, no, God does not come to your humanhood. No, forget it. He's not going to do it because he doesn't recognize it. What does God know about sickness and pain and death? Nothing. Of course not. So, no, you let go of your human ideas and see what happens. You let go of your opening up for an alternative to what you're so familiar with. And for just one moment, you let go of it. Suddenly you have a realization of what is. Now that is your spiritual life right there, but not any other way. And that's very uncompromising. So you see in the world too, so how much it is tried to be combined, like using spiritual principles to get rich, or using spiritual principles to get well, or any of those ideas. Like, no, it's not. It's a waste of time. It really doesn't do anything. In your dream, it might seem to have result, but the whole dream isn't real. Now, what you going to do? So that's really great. Now I introduce this idea of substitute or substitution once more into this meeting, and I will show you what I mean. It will come. Maybe not, maybe, who knows. So I prepared a couple of expressions of A Course in Miracles, chapter 18, since we are diving in that with our voice of heaven. I thought I'm using this here. You have been called together to the most holy function that this world contains. It is the only one that has no limits and that reaches out to every broken fragment of the sonship with healing and uniting comfort. This is offered you in your holy relationship. Accept it here, and you will give as you have accepted and received. The peace of God is given you with the glowing purpose in which you join. The holy light that brought you together must extend as you accept it. Now, see, this is a representation of our activities right here, right now. It's like you come together with a recognition of an holy relationship that we in fact have in the recognition of our common source. Like we're looking not to differentiate or to fragment. Now we're actually looking in fact, discovering our unity, discovering our oneness in a direct experience. So you have been called, I'll read it once more. You have been called together to the most holy function that this world contains. It is the only one that has no limits. So that's why it's a good idea to listen really well. It's the most holy function in this world, and it's the only one that has no limits. Well, how about that? And that reaches out to every broken fragment of the sonship with healing and uniting comfort. This is offered you in your holy relationship. Accept it here right now, and you will give as you have accepted and received. The peace of God is given you with the glowing purpose in which you join. The holy light that brought you together must extend as you accept it. As you accept it. Okay? Heaven has answered quietly, for all illusions have been gently brought unto the truth in you, and love has shined upon you, blessing your relationship with truth. God in His whole creation has entered it together. How lovely and how holy is your relationship, with the truth shining upon it. Heaven beholds it and rejoices that you have let it come to you. And God Himself is glad that your relationship is as it was created. The universe within you stands with you together, and heaven looks with love on what is joined in it, along with its creator. Heaven has quietly answered, for in all illusions have been gently brought into the truth in you, not anywhere else, and love has shined upon you, blessing your relationship with truth. Now see, this is lovely to hear that, and we immediately go to the practical inclination, like what has to do with that is this then, like recognizing that in recognizing this light and this love, you actually extend it into this world. And you actually receive it for yourself and give it in that sense to others. Now that is very, say, without losing yourself in the words and in the way that is being said, we have to come to the, say, to the bottom of this. We have to come to the essence of this. Like, what is so fundamental here? What is so fundamental here? Now here something happens. So in your observation, you could say, of limitation, conflict and all this, something occurs, because now you have a choice. And since you heard about the alternative, since you heard about the light that is shining on your relationship, no matter with whom or with what, now it's like it's your relationship with everything. That's what we're talking about, your relationship with God. And that is happening in you. Has not to do with any other body, so to speak, or any other object or any other thing. No, it has to do with creation itself. That is your holy relationship. Because once you recognize it, you see that it is connected to every aspect of it. So that's so great. But what I'm trying to say here is this. Now here, you say, for instance, you say to me like, okay, well, this and this is my situation. I really have difficulties there, and this is not working out that well, and this is not working out so well. So now, what am I actually doing by expressing that, by sharing that with my brother? What do I do with it? I'm making it real. I'm actually confirming it again, that it happened, that it is something that is in between me and wholeness, as if it is a real obstacle, as if really something is happening, as if there's a real barricade that's preventing me from experiencing peace. Of course that is not true, but in your experience it definitely is made true by you, because you want it to be confirmed for some reason. You want it to be confirmed that there is a lack. Yeah, here's an exception to the love of God. And now, yeah, I don't experience the love of God. No, if you don't experience the love of God, you don't exist, in fact. It's like you don't exist. And it has nothing to do with your obstacles. You can believe in your obstacles as much as you like, but it's not going to make them true. Now, this is quite a confrontational idea that comes to you, in fact, in this what we just shared and what Joel was saying too. Like, for sure, God is not going to confirm you in your limited identity, because he doesn't know the idea of a limited identity. It would be literally impossible for him to see it. And that has to do with the fact that there is no such thing. So now that dilemma is obvious, like your dilemma, where you find yourself in, yeah, but I'm experiencing limitation. Yeah, I'm experiencing pain. I'm experiencing this and this and this and this. Now, how am I supposed to look at that? And what am I supposed to do with that? See, the most difficult thing then is to, in fact, accept the idea that you don't need to do anything with it. It's like, how would you work unreality in order to make it real? Well, you can't. It will never be a part of you. Like God has a perfect recognition to you, but he doesn't know about your limitation because it has no reality. He only recognizes what is true about you. So however you describe and say manifest your suffering, God cannot do anything with it. So it's only up to you to let it go, to literally say, allow it to change, allow it to become whole. And how do you allow it to become whole? By accepting it, in fact, not as a truth, but as in like, well, I'm not going to exclude it or try not to feel it because I'm feeling it. I'm allowing it to become whole and be changed. Because I want, my purpose is clear, like I want to experience the peace of God. That is what I want. I don't want anything else. And I don't know how to get rid of it. I don't know how to deal with all the limitation that I'm experiencing. Now, you saw the instruction. Heaven comes silently to you, in fact. That's not by making a lot of noise or by, say, aggravating your conflict. It is not by denying anything, no. But it does mean by becoming still in yourself, not having any ideas about your situation for just a moment, allowing your mind to become still. What happens naturally when your mind becomes still? It starts to expand. It starts to open up. And suddenly there is another experience possible. So this is the practice that we do. You know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. It's just so good to hear it over and over. Just to see that it's a whole idea of our practice, you could say. Not to keep practicing it. No, to actually see that it works. And that it in fact works all the time. Letting it go. You have no idea how to do that. But you know for sure that you don't want to hold on to any of it. Well, that's sufficient. Then the change can occur. So it's like, and then, see, the thing is that you identify with your limitation. This is another thing, and I'll stop talking. But it's like the identification with the suffering is tremendous because it's literally like you see it as part of yourself. Now, that is, of course, not true. Not as God created you. So this has always to do with the self-made image, with an idea that you hold about yourself. Now, an idea is not a fact. So it's like ideas you can change. Like you can change your mind about yourself. Now this is the change of base that Joel was talking about. You will have to change the base. Like you literally have to occur a change of base. That's one way to express it. It's like, yeah, allow this to be changed. Your definition of yourself is always wrong. You don't have to define yourself. Any definition of yourself is a limitation. There's no need to do that. It will avail you nothing. Now here you're free of any kind of limitation that you, say, put on yourself. Any limitation that you, say, walk around with as a spell, as if you're bewitched by the idea, or bedeviled, you could say. You're bedeviled by, and everything around you would confirm it to you because it is your world. Now you allow this change to occur, and you start to become quiet, and suddenly heaven shines upon your relationship, and say you start to see yourself as whole for just an instant, you experience yourself as whole, that changes your whole world. Like suddenly there's like, first there was an eclipse, and here's the first ray of light shining right into your dream, as breaking the darkness that you found yourself in just a moment ago, but breaking it. And the darkness disappears. It is not that the darkness changes or it becomes a better darkness. No, it's just gone. So that's a lovely practice. Now, if that isn't rebirth, then I don't know what it is. So, continuing with the idea of substitution, in fact, we have made some expressions, and the assignment that we had for today was quite specific, and that it has to do with an idea of your visual representation, your visual adaptation to this world. Like you think that everything is defined by color, by movement, by shape, by all of this, but it isn't. So it's like, no, all the differentiation is in fact a limitation. Now let's change it around. Instead of a blue sky, let's make the sky yellow or orange or whatever. It's like Van Gogh did this in his paintings. He turned it around with the say the bottom was blue and the sky was gold as straw. So that has an impact on you. I say in the visual aspect of yourself, not that it's therapeutic or anything, I don't want to go into that, but there's something that happens to you, because literally what your mind necessarily does in observation and in perception is trying to look for what it already knows. Like familiar things, it will see it. You watch a painting and you say, oh, there's an apple, oh, there's a flower in there, oh, there's a heart in there, or a face, like, oh, there's a face in it. It's like, yeah, I know. But you're defining it already. You're trying to look for the limitation in what an artist might have used as an expression of unlimitedness. And you try to look for limitation, for shape, for form, for color, for all of this. And missing, in fact, what it is telling you. So now here's another aspect then. I'm not ready yet, I can tell. So another thing then, in really being open to receive instead of observe, you could say, and ready to perceive, and this we can practice. Like you can practice this, I mentioned this before, but it's a great practice, in fact. Instead of defining it, instead of saying, okay, that's this. So you should go to a museum to start with, and then to a coffee store or tea place or whatever, and look at people. Just for this idea. Like, try to not observe them, but to actually see them. There's a way of doing that. Like, there's a way of, in fact, asking it what it is. What is this? And that is an inner question for you. What is this that I'm seeing? What is this person that, well, I call it person already, but what's this object? What is this thing that's in front of me? I would love to discover what it is. Like, then it becomes totally different. Instead of me defining, oh, that's an what, and this and this and this, from that and that and that. And, you know, very specific. Now, you might be surprised how that works. So what I mean to say is, like, why not asking it what it is and letting it bring you home? This is the same when you meet your brother. Like, if I define you already, then, yeah, why would I even bother? No, this is my adventure, in fact. This is my experiment in which I'm going to discover what it means to actually connect with what I'm seeing before I'm judging. Like, I don't have to judge in order to see something. No, it is going to be given to me if I ask it what it is. So that was another idea that came in. So today then, with watching what we're going to watch, for instance, as the presentations of the ones that prepared something for today, like by watching this, you can ask it, what is it? Instead of looking for familiar things. And that is a totally different thing. Then everything becomes, in fact, inspirational. Because what do you think it represents if you ask it what it is? If your consciousness is open to receive it, what are you actually reflecting? Heaven comes into your mind with, like, silently comes into your mind. So what do you think is going to happen if you ask it to silently come into your mind? Like, it actually brings you home, no matter what it is. There can be a cup, it can be a painting, it can be the sun that is shining, it can be anything, a face that is laughing, or a face that is crying. Who knows what that is? Who knows what's going to bring you home? All right, so that's a bit of instruction, or invitation really, not instructing actually.